Thank you so much. A good morning to everyone. It's been a while since we last had this nature of interaction. I want to thank you that when I informed you that I'll be here to speak to the nation, you have offered your time and space. And I'm aware that the day is quite busy, so I'll try to be as brief as feasible. After all, I'm here to address a single matter that is washing the corridors of Parliament and probably other spaces where matters in public space are discussed. So you're very welcome. You recollect that in June 2022, when I was leader of the opposition, I led the opposition political actors, not in Parliament alone, but even outside Parliament, in a 2-day conversation about the possibilities for change, what change heralds and what it takes, and what we needed to do as the opposition to have a chance of causing the desirable change that we thought we are capable of doing. In those 2 days, we made deep reflections of our past failures, of our first trials, the several steps and missteps, the missed opportunities, and we dared to dream. But there was something missing, and we were addressing the elephant in the room: reforms. You recollect that there never was consensus on that day. The minimum to a consensus was that let each group return to their fore and do internal consultation. Probably at the right time, there will be an opportunity to reconvene and address these matters. And you recollect that my party, the NUP, then was even more bold in talking about reforms, in saying it's not necessary. Even a statement was issued by the presidency to that effect. But we said there will be chance. We thought that we'll have occasion to address this in earnest before the elections. This is September 2024, and the Electoral Commission has issued a roadmap. In fact, has started implementing its roadmap. In the 10th Parliament, to which I was a part, the opposition attempted to bring reforms, electoral reforms and constitutional amendments, because sometimes amendments give rise to several amendments of other acts and attendant reforms. Those reforms were being led by the Honorable Nwagaba, and they were told we were late. But we were promised instead that within that time, we shall have constituted a review commission. In the same 10th Parliament, you recollect that there was an attempt to present names. In fact, names were forwarded to Parliament. But then it was stopped. The process stopped. So there was no commission. So we never had a Constitutional Review Commission. We've never had reforms. We all recollect the nature of the 2021 elections. and how they actually were a major setback in our process of democratizing Uganda and propelling a durable constitutional order in this country. The probability of having won based on the last election is second to none. Therefore, I set out, because I've been consulting across peers, actors, individuals, about the possibility of reforms. And when we saw nothing coming from government, of course, my old friend Honorable Mao has been speaking often at funerals, in other spaces, on media, about how he intends to bring, reforms. But the fact that we have not had a review commission, it means that the public has never sent Mao. So if he brings any, he'll be bringing his own and his own cohorts, amendments or reforms. I have set out, and I'll be joined by other colleagues in the coming weeks to set out on a process, on a program, to bring to Parliament a plethora of amendment bills that will give way to a national conversation on the possibility. You recollect last week, this week actually, on Tuesday, I gave Parliament an oral notice of my intentions. And I promised the country that next week I'll be ready with the first set of my intentions. So next week coming, I'll be able to now formally seek from the Speaker, with the way of a written notice, to seek leave of Parliament to be able to sponsor a number of bills that will catapult a conversation on possible constitutional amendments and major electoral reforms that, in my view and the view of those I've been consulting with, that will give way to a national conversation, to a better election that can give an idea of a free and fair process. There are three major areas of interest from me in the Constitution. Remember, the Constitution in Article 260, 261, and 262 can be variously amended. So if Parliament allows me, I intend to propose to amend the Constitution with three bills. The first bill will be under Article 260. Article 260 talks about the articles that can be amended with the Parliament and a referendum. The second will be under Article 261, the second bill, those areas that can be amended by Parliament and local governments, district local governments. Then the third bill will be about those areas that can be amended by Parliament alone. My view, which is not a final view, is that if I bring three bills in that structure and form, then we shall be able to take care of the naysayers, those who say we don't have time, because Parliament has time. Local governments have time. If there's no time for a referendum, that there's a question that requires a referendum, then in my proposal, I'll propose that on polling day in 2026, there will be a ballot box for a referendum question, such that we can save time and resources. Then the government that will be formed will implement the results of the referendum. So that's why I'm proposing three bills for amending the Constitution. So when those bills are taken, maybe I could briefly speak about the key areas of amendment. One of the key areas for the Constitution amendment is restoration of term limits. We've spoken about that variously. It's something that I think has bedeviled this nation. Term limits were the minimum consensus of the 1995 Constitution. Remember, the predicate of that constitution was to give this country a chance for the very first time in our history to change leadership through a free and fair process. Because the major failure of the 1967 Constitution was failure to enable the country to transition, to organize free and fair elections, transition from one leader to another. That never happened. So the promise of the 95 Constitution was the possibility of a change through a free and fair election. When that failed, and in 2006, we amended the Constitution and removed term limits, that in effect killed that motivation. It killed the basic structure of that Constitution, and therefore, in my view, as a lawyer and as a politician, from that day we got a new Constitution, which is why it needs a major surgery to restore that promise and give the nation hope that we can actually change leadership. Otherwise, peaceful transfer of power is impossible. And in 2018, again, we tinkered with the Constitution and removed another pillar, which was the age limit. So for me, we need to restore term limits and even entrench them, not just restore, but entrench them. Because the article that had them was fair weather, Article 105. Now we need to restore them and then even entrench them. The second area I'm looking at in amending the Constitution that will cause amendment to the Presidential Elections Act, the Parliamentary Elections Act, the Electoral Commissions Act, will be in the area. I'm introducing an idea to have a second tier of Parliament, the upper house. And the upper house will be chaired by a deputy president, who in my proposal will be on the ballot with the president. The idea of a president simply appointing a vice president to attend the funerals must stop. We must have a constitutional provision for a deputy president elected on the same day with the president. And I'm proposing the president and the deputy should not come from the same region. We'll chair the upper house, and the upper house, like I'll propose later in detail, will have only 39 members from the original 39 districts before the making of the 95 Constitution. I'll make provision for their purpose and role for the country. Then most importantly, and probably dicey, is reducing the size of Parliament. We're among a Bani forest where it is domiciled. I'm looking at the bigger picture. I'm a Ugandan, desirous of seeing this country transition and move to a better place. The size of Parliament over time has been a major concern for all and sundry, including politicians who care.